I need to make a really quick point here before I kick this video off. A pretty well-known YouTuber put out a video today that has some uncanny resemblances to mine. In fact, the part in red here is almost verbatim with his. I think stealing ideas is a terrible thing, so here's a screenshot of me emailing the script to myself one day before he published his. Might seem like a trivial thing to bring up, but integrity is really important. Honestly, it's encouraging that we might think the same way about some stuff. Anyway, with that out of the way, here we go. Dear Liberalism, I understand that people have different values and different perspectives. I even get that two people can look at the same thing and draw different conclusions. I do, and I respect that. That's America. That's our right, yours and mine, to have it just like that. But something's been bothering me lately. You'll note by my results of where I fall on the political compass test that I clearly don't fit the mold of a Republican. And I'm good with that. I already knew that. I'm okay with me. But what's been bothering me is that that's no longer good enough. And not just not good enough, but somehow a crime. When did you get to the point where someone being left of center meant you call them a Nazi? When did you decide that me exercising my right as a free American to not choose the candidate that you promoted unfairly above your best guy universally and unequivocally went hand in hand with being uneducated or racist, sexist, misogynistic? I've discovered most recently that there's such a grave lack of logic at the most basic of levels when dealing with what somehow now passes as liberal. And we need to talk about that, because it wasn't always like this. And it's not okay anymore. We can't just pretend you're fine, because it's killing you. I remember a time when you didn't trust the government. Not even close. Look at the hippie movement. When did it go from not trusting the government to defending the CIA, to defending James Clapper when he was caught lying to Congress about spying on hundreds of millions of Americans, and the same treatment with Comey, Clinton, and McCabe? It was really uncomfortable watching you suddenly dumb down at the most convenient times for party. Do you honestly expect me to believe that you just didn't know because your propaganda news media didn't tell you? Sorry, that excuse doesn't work anymore. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. Ignorance is a choice. And you've chosen to be ignorant to back your exhausted politics on so many fronts. It's the double standard that really woke me up, though. You claim to be for saving lives as though you're somehow virtuous. But when 26 kids in 5 years lose their lives to school shootings, you called for common sense for the purpose of saving lives, but lose over 1,000 American citizens to crimes of illegal aliens in the same time frame, and you're silent. You're worse than silent. You're accusatory towards anyone who would speak up against it. That's called psychological abuse, and I will tolerate your trifling no longer. California literally puts an illegal alien in office, and instead of it being breaking the law, it's racism to question or object to it. You warn illegal aliens about an incoming crackdown of established law being enforced, and somehow you equate enforcing existing immigration law to being morally wrong. Actually, literally, somehow. I mean, do you even listen to yourself anymore? Say out loud that the federal government doesn't have the right to enforce federal law. Say out loud that Trump is racist for enforcing federal law that existed long before he was president. You're absolutely preposterous. Somewhere along the way, you've lost sight of who you are. You became intellectually dishonest. How do you expect me to support you when your actions are like a crazy person who won't take their medicine? I can't play this game any longer. I won't. I refuse. Lately, you've changed the way you debate as well. We used to be able to talk about our disagreements. No longer. Now you use dumbed-down logical fallacies that are backed by a thug media whose most potent weapon is to ignore reality while inventing whatever it likes. I try to point out what went wrong with you or your god-awful corrupt candidate, and you retort with how everyone is corrupt because you can't defend specific points. You're like a child that can't hold his own. What happened to you? I used to call myself one of you. Not anymore. I feel as though I'm watching a loved one deteriorate from brain cancer, all while they're seemingly unaware they have a condition in the first place. I see you post on social media about how it's white people's fault or men's fault or some patriarchy or toxic masculinity or a microaggression, and I have to wonder, when did you start being so racist, so sexist? When did you become so about dividing people by race and class? When did you turn so intellectually bankrupt? You burn down Starbucks and yell in the street about "not my president" after your failed candidate cried about the dangers of not accepting an election. Jesus, what is wrong with you? Ashley Judd makes a speech about how awful the president is, while the actual man who assaulted her is in her very audience cheering on her speech, as they both wear their pussy hats. Again, intellectually dishonest. Still? Always? I can't say. Hey, did the Russians get to Mueller now that he's announced Trump isn't a target? When Julian Assange exposed that piece of trash Bush for his war crimes, you celebrated. Yet when Assange exposed Clinton, you cowered in fear and said he was a Russian puppet. I see all these many things and so much more. I see these things and I'm affected. Some might be too stupid to see your abuse for what it is because you constantly lie to them. As your friend, the conglomerate media backs your tired and false narrative and psychologically conditions the absolute abundance of all too eager tools. But I'm not having it. I'm leaving you. You're a loser, worse, an abuser who refuses to change, and I deserve better. You messed up a lot of people that I care about, and this means more to me than I know you believe. You think you're somehow winning? You helped lose over 1,000 seats under Obama. Your arrogance will be your undoing. And as long as you're intellectually dishonest, you will continue to be beaten over the head by reality. Keep it up. Run on an America Last platform and see what that gets you. Join Pelosi in her stories of regretting being white as a means to virtue signal. Really, do it. Let's watch it die. I see one of your pawns suggested repealing the Second Amendment this week. You should run on that and keep blaming Americans, especially white ones, straight ones, Christian ones. Convict them. Convict them as you virtue signal to your disconnected and impotent base. I encourage it. Man, third wave feminism really did a number on you, and you can't see it. What a mind job. At Berkeley in the 1960s, you were a bastion of hope. You fought for people's right to free expression. Now it's free speech for those you agree with. What happened to you? How did you convince yourself that free speech was meant only for speech that you agree with? Free speech wasn't designed to protect popular speech. You're insane to convince yourself of that. Free speech was designed to protect unpopular speech. Let people like Milo speak and beat them with logic. Dismantle ideas by sound arguments so that future generations can say, no, that's been just disproven. We know better. But no, that's too much to hope for. Silencing is your logic. You preach of not attacking one school shooting survivor while condemning another that is pro-Second Amendment. You condemn, bully, and shame kids of the same age of the same shooting because their views don't line up with your narrative, all while chastising a conservative for the very same actions. Hypocrisy. Madness. You've become disingenuous at best, and at worst you've turned into a violent hypocrite that seems to use 1984 as an instruction manual rather than the stark warning it was intended to be. How did we get here, you may wonder? Maybe it was the 63 million Nazis you cry about, the 63 million sexists, the 63 million white males, the 63 million uneducated. I'll take an IQ test with you. It's funny in a sad sort of way the things you tell yourself to feel better. You tell stories concocted of pure fantasy. But I'm here to call you out. You're a failure, and you're dismantling yourself, going the way of the Whig Party, and you can't even see it. You've gone off the deep end, liberalism, to such an extent that classical liberals are now your literal enemy. Think about what that means. To watch your out-of-touch, insane feminists align with Muslims who literally call for Sharia law in America, while claiming Christianity is destructive and those who believe in God are a danger. Tolerance only for whom you agree with. I could tell you how to save yourself, but I think I'll pass. You've earned this fate, and I'm going to watch you burn up. You sit in your Hollywood media echo chamber and tell each other how enlightened you are. But I've finally figured out a freeing truth. It's not me that's the problem here. It's you.